As Payal said, a great part of the Algebra endeavor, as we've, when we've been reaching out to you, we said was to create a fellowship of the curious and the engaged, and here you are. So thank you very much. Do give a clap to yourselves first for being here. In addition to what Payal said, you'll see that algebra is something which is not merely a word, but we associate it with maths and with X and Y, but the actual meaning of the word algebra is the science of restoration and balance. And at a society in a time when we really are losing that principle and that spirit, hopefully algebra will be a space where we can come to for that restoration and balance, a conversation across the QEDs and look for new meanings. You'll also see over the evening that there are a lot of dragonflies around you. When we were looking for an icon for algebra, a friend suggested the dragonfly, and we leapt at it because the symbolism of the dragonfly is a change in perspective wrought by intellectual and emotional maturity rather than physical violence, which really is again something we're getting accustomed to. So to start this algebra calendar today, we have somebody who really embodies that dragonfly effect. We have a man who's not just a hit director, whose films don't just routinely cross the 100 crore, is passé 300 crore, watermarks. But that's not really why we're here to celebrate this man. But at a time when society started taking a hammer to everything, when whether it's politicians or cinema stars or directors or the films we see are really beating the brains out of everything for change, here is a man who does believe in emotional and intellectual transformation. His films are imbued with that belief. And Raju Hirani is somebody who speaks to people routinely, 1.3 billion people, but it's rare, difficult, and unusual to make him speak to 250 people. So we're very, very pleased to welcome him here this evening. It was his son's birthday last night. He's on the verge of a shoot for his new film. So he's really here as a friend, keeping a commitment. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome India's most luminous director, Raju Hirani.
Man, आदमी, हरामी, कमीना.
आयो रे भाया रंगीलो मेहमान छोरा छोरी फर्क न समझे मारे सब पे छलांग आयो रे भाया रंगीलो मेहमान अरे छोरा छोरी फर्क न समझे मारे सब पे छलांग मरवाएगा तू पिटवाएगा तू मत कर मत कर मत कर मत कर डर की छोकरो
तेरे को मालूम है 206 टाइप का सिर्फ हड्डी है ओहिला तोड़ने के टाइम अपन लोग सोचते थे क्या
कभी
बोलना
नहीं सोचा
Raju, as I said, you're the dragonfly effect in a time when it's really an era of the hammer. So I wanted to share with the audience your origins. A lot of the directors in the Hindi cinema industry envy you. People as disparate as Karan Johar and Anurag Kashyap have told me that they want to discover the Raju inside them. So really, let's go to the making of Raju. Could you share with us a little bit of the origins of your, where you came from, where your family came from, who has been the really distinctive influence in shaping your sensibility?
Shoma, my father came during partition from
small place called Nawabshah in Sindh. He was 14 then, and he came to Agra, then eventually came to Nagpur and settled there. So I was born in Nagpur. My entire schooling, college happened in Nagpur. And later I went to a film school, FTI, in Pune, and then from there I came to Bombay. But talking of the influencing factors, I think both my dad and mom have been huge influences in different ways. My mom is a soft one, which is, she was a teacher. She is, and she's not teaching now, she's there. Soft, she still writes poetry. And my dad, he's not there with us now, but he was a very, very straightforward, outspoken, honest man. So most of my actually cinematic madness, I should say, came from him. Because I've always dug into stories from my own life and kind of transformed them on screen. So many things I would say came from my dad.
But Raju, you know, by the way, if any of you are wondering why I'm wearing a dark glass in this dark room, it's an investigative tool, and it's going to expose Raju Hirani later in the evening. Raju, you have a very complex dynamic with your father. You know, you once said that it's his DNA that really you have inherited, his forthrightness. But you are also a bit of a gentleman, and he's not a gentleman. So can you tell us a little bit about that, you know, that contrast between his value system and your temperament? Tell us a little bit about your father.
As I said, my mom, possibly that side comes from my mom. She's a gentle soul. My dad, all my memories, if I dig into them now, is of a man who's absolutely forthright. I have memories of him where he used to run a typewriting institute. Those were the in things then. Then he started selling typewriters, and if you're sitting in the office, somebody from the sales tax department walks in and some query, basically they're possibly coming to get some money, he would throw them out of the office. He says, you write a letter to me, don't. Once I did some mischief in college, and I remember the vice principal calling my father. We used to have 7 to 10 early morning college, and he called my dad around 7:30, woke him up and said, you have to come to college now. And I got damn scared. I thought they were going to throw me out of college. So I knew that he had called my father, so I called my father from a PCO. He didn't even ask me what I had done. He said, I'm coming there. I said, no, you don't need to come, I'll settle it. So he said, no, I'm coming there. Around 8:30 landed up. He didn't meet the vice principal, straight went to the principal. And he said, who is this vice principal of? Why did he wake me up at 7:30 in the morning? You know, he's got a problem with my son. I don't even know what he's done. Throw him out. Why are you waking me up at 7:30 in the morning? I think I remember telling you once that story of, if you remember Munna Bhai M.B.B.S, the first scene of Sunil Dutt Saab, where he gets on the railway station, there's a pickpocket who takes his wallet, and then he kind of saves him. It's an incident which, in a different way, happened with me, with my father. As I said, he used to run this typewriting institute, and Nagpur that time was a small town. Sindhi community was a small community. So one gentleman walked up at the institute and he said, I am from Raipur. I've come here for some business and I've lost my money. So can you lend me some money? And there used to be straight belief. He said, okay, this Sindhi gentleman is there. I'm a Sindhi. He gave me. He wanted $2,000. He gave it to him, which was not a small amount then. That evening when we were sitting at home, we had some other relatives and they told my dad that there's one gentleman from Raipur who's come to this man's office and that man's office. And in 5 minutes we realized this was some kind of a con man who was actually taking money from everyone and he had no intentions of returning it. Everybody gave up. My dad didn't give up. He woke up the next morning, 6 o'clock he went out. There used to be 3 or 4 living places, hotels or lodges, you know. He went to one lodge after another, describing the man, and he found him. While the others had given up, he caught him, he brought him home. And he said, why are you doing this? You know, I will lose faith. Next time I won't be able to help anybody if this is the way. But that man, God knows what he had done with the money. There was nothing for him to return. Now, after giving his lecture to him, he didn't know what to do with him. He didn't want to take him to the police station. So there used to be this little Sindhi panchayat there. You know, the eminent people of the community would sit together on a Sunday and decide issues. So he took him there, and I as a kid remember going with him. So there were some builders, some guy used to own some theatre, and so all the eminent Sindhi citizens were there, and he told them, look, this gentleman has come, he's taken 2,000 bucks from me and from many other people. Now he doesn't have the money. I don't know what to do with him. So one gentleman, I remember, he got up and slapped this man from Raipur. So my dad stopped him. He says, no, no, don't slap him. I can do that. I can do it better than you can do it. But I don't know what to do with him. How do we get the money out of him? How do you solve this? So he said, Hirani sahab, chhod dijiye, humko karne dijiye. Let's start slapping him. And I have distinct memories even today of my dad getting very upset. He pushed all those guys away. This guy who had actually stolen his money made him stand behind him. And he told him, he says, look at all these guys. This guy is a builder, this guy is some insurance guy, this guy runs a theatre. He says, all of them are thieves. Somebody is stealing from the income tax, somebody is stealing from the insurance company, somebody is stealing from everything else, but they don't get caught. You're a foolish guy. You're stealing so blatantly. Don't do this. And he took him to the railway station, bought him a ticket, and sent him off. So that's a scene actually I, in a way, used in Munna Bhai M.B.B.S.
So, in fact, Raju, your father once said that he was like a fighter, and he was full of anger and rage and this kind of definite moral forthrightness as well. But you, as we've been saying again and again, is the gentler approach to, in fact, we've pitched your session as the art of chopping society gently, which you do, and each of your films have really taken up an issue. So, when the directors say that they want to find the Raju in themselves, do you understand yourself and your approach to cinema? Can you put it into words? What is that Raju approach to communicating, and how do you approach your cinema?
I don't know. I think they're just being nice to me when they say that. Because whenever you see some fellow director's work which is brilliant, you feel, I wish I'd done that. So I guess they're being nice to me. See, it's very difficult to analyze your own work, but for me, what is most important, if I have to put it in words, is scripting. But even before that, what is the subject you choose to make is of utmost importance. And Abhijat, who co-writes with me actually, what we've decided is that every time we make a film, we say we are not going to make it for an audience, we're going to make it for ourselves. That's the primary principle. Then let's not make it for an audience, because we cannot sit here and judge what the audience wants. Because somebody in New York wants something different, somebody in Bihar will want something different. So the moment we try to judge what they want, we'll be going against our grain and doing something which we possibly don't like. So the best thing is to make a film which you like, and you are also an audience. So invariably when we write, we are laughing at the jokes, we are crying at the jokes, and if we feel we are reacting in a nice way to the film, let's go and make that film. So that's one factor. Other thing is we always try and dig into our own lives for inspiration. I remember once Bachchan Saab had said, he said, आजकल मेरे पास दो ही किस्म के डायरेक्टर्स आते हैं. एक वो होते हैं जो एक डीवीडी लेके आते हैं, कहते हैं सर ये देखिए कमाल की फिल्म है, कोरियन फिल्म, ये फिल्म बनानी है हमको. इससे दूसरे वो होते हैं जो दो डीवीडीज लेके आते हैं, कहते हैं सर ये देखिए ये कोरियन है और ये देखिए अमेरिकन है और ये फर्स्ट हाफ हम इसमें से लेंगे, सेकंड हाफ इसमें से लेंगे. So that's something we principally decided not to do, and we said let's dig into our own lives. Abhijat and me, when we sit, when we have enough experiences, so when you dig from it, you modify those scenes, your experiences you modify, and when you modify those things, they become scenes which are not seen before. They become very real scenes. And so possibly whatever angst you're talking about, I think that comes out because those are our beliefs, be it education, be it religion, be it medical students. I actually have never consciously stepped out to say that I'm going to make a film, but I'm going to preach you, I'm going to give you a message. This is something which happened very unknowingly. We went out to say, okay, let's make a film which will entertain people. But possibly because this is what we believed in, this is the way we believed in, kind of came out in the films.
And you have a LSD formula. I'm being mischievous.
LCD, yeah. That's something again, It's like a homemade recipe which we call, Abhijat and me have devised this formula called LCD. L stands for laughter, C for a cry, and D for drama. So we say whatever we write, we have to make sure that every scene should have either of LCD. You should have a laugh, it should have a cry, or there should be drama. If it's not there, that scene should not be in the film. And it's not as easy as it sounds, because when you're writing a film, there's a lot of information we need to give about characters. So information is always boring. In a novel, you can give it in a line. You can say, you know, so-and-so person is an honest man. But in a film, you have to create a visual scene. Somebody's wallet has fallen down, he picks it up and gives it. Then you know, okay, he's an honest man. But that's a boring scene. That has to be invisible. The exposition has to be invisible. So let me give you an example. If you all remember Three Idiots, the first scene of the film, when on paper it was written, it was that Madhavan is sleeping in his house, he gets a phone call from Chatur, who's in the film. He says, I have found your friend, and why don't you come and meet me? Or in the water tank. Then he used to call Sharman, and then they used to go to the water tank to realize that this guy has found a friend in Shimla. Now on paper, this was it. Now what all I have to say, I have to make the audience believe that the friend he's talking about is a very, very important man in their life. He's extremely important. They really love him. And I also have to say it dramatically. So the same scene, visually we modified, we put the whole scene into a plane. It's a plane which is taking off, and Madhavan gets a heart attack. He falls. So you make there's a phone call which happens. We don't reveal the content of the phone call. Something happens after the phone call, Madhavan becomes very tense. So as a viewer, I get a little hooked. What's happening? What was that phone call about? Then he gets a heart attack. He falls. There's an emergency landing. He's brought down. As an audience, I'm hooked. Then when he's being taken on a wheelchair, suddenly opens his eyes. And you realize he's fooled it. There's no heart attack. He skimmed out. He's actually brought a plane down. And he runs and catches a cab. Then he calls up his friend. He says, you know what? This guy's found Rancho. So for me, Rancho is suddenly skyrocketed up there. I said, oh, who is this Rancho in their life for which this guy could bring a plane down? So this is when I mean by LCD is, you take a small scene and try and dramatize it, or make sure there's laughter, or make sure there's a tear.
So, Raju, you know, like you said, that you use a lot of personal triggers. So I just want to touch on a few before we, you know, move to the times when you're not so gentle in your beliefs. But, you know, particularly Three Idiots, it's imbued with a sense of emotional suffocation, you know, and it seems to come very close from your belly. There are two strands in the film. One is of roads taken and one of roads not taken. Can you tell us how did that film come about? You know, was there such an incident in your life where you did your parents try and force you into doing things you didn't want to do?
Yeah. See, if I look back at my life, if I have to sit and singularly describe the most tense, most stressful period of my life, it's not my first film. It's not my marriage. It's not any relationship, any breakup, any money issues. It was my 12th standard. Trust me. I used to wake up at night. Every night I dreamt my results are out and I performed badly. Every night I would wake up. And that's why actually you're trying to meet up with somebody's expectations. You're trying to meet up your parents' expectation. I think schools, colleges are places to make mistakes. They're not places to perform. Make mistakes, learn. But it's become a race out there. Everybody expected to perform extremely well. Marks has become a race. So again, when I set out to write Three Idiots, I wanted to do a film in a hostel. I've lived in a hostel and I kind of like that environment. But when we started doing this thing, somehow whatever I had experienced started coming into the film. Again, that scene with Madhavan where he goes to his father to say that I cannot become an engineer. If I become an engineer, I'll be a very bad engineer, so let me do something else. He wants to become a photographer. It's straight out of my life. Till 12th, I studied for engineering. Actually, that time, all of us would realize we either wanted to become engineers or doctors. And if we didn't get enough marks in our science stream, we would go into commerce. If we were very bad, we would do arts. It was plain and simple. So I had bad marks in my 12th standard. I couldn't get into any engineering college. So I started doing commerce. And college used to be 7 to 10 in the morning. Then my uncle wanted me to become a chartered accountant. He still is an income tax lawyer. So I started going for those foundation course classes. And till date, I don't understand what is when you debit and when you credit. It's like a trauma for me. This is credited. I say, okay, what's it's gone out or it's come in? I don't know. So I just couldn't understand what was happening in those classes. I used to go and sit. There was one Parsi girl who was like, I used to just keep watching her. She was my first infatuation in life. And exams were coming close. I realized I'm going to fail again. And that got me worried. I said, Dad will say, look, you couldn't do engineering. Now you couldn't get into chartered accountancy. And so now what do you want to do? So that 1 week was traumatic. I wanted to go and tell my father that I don't want to do this. But it was 1 week of trauma. Finally, I gathered the courage, went to my father, told him that, I don't like this. I don't understand this. Can I do something else? I don't want to give this exam, which is tomorrow. And my father, hats off to his, he just looked at me and he said, so if you don't like it, why are you doing it? Leave it. Come and start working with me. So I said, it's okay if I don't give the exams. He said, it's okay. Come and work with me. I was willing to do anything. If somebody would ask me to sweep the entire Nagpur city next day, I would have done it, but not given that exam. So I started going in, working with my father, and 7 to 10 used to be college. 10:30 I used to go to my dad's office. We used to sell typewriters and calculators and put them in a car, go and give demos all over the city with those scientific calculators, and those were the new things then. And evenings were mine. And that's the time I discovered a small drama group. We did some plays in college. And I think that's where I found my calling, my passion. I said, this is what I enjoy doing. That whole day I was either writing plays or directing or acting. And my father again was smart enough to see that this is his calling. When I look back now from a typical small town, middle class Hindi family, to send a son to get into films was something unheard of. Everybody would say, son is growing up, put him into business. Because I went to the film school also, I used to come back in vacations, and I remember my aunts, relatives, they had no idea. They thought I'd gone to become an actor. I joined as an editor, so they wouldn't understand what is editing. They would keep asking me, "Kya acha hua? Hema Malini phir se pregnant ho gayi?" So those were the questions they would ask. How would I know? So yeah. So to answer your question, my biggest thanks was my 12th standard, and
so in fact, Raju, I'm going to move to your craft and this enterprise of being a director, and if you can give us some insights. But before that, just two things I wanted to share with the audience. In fact, there isn't enough time for Raju to tell all of the story, but his father actually came during the partition, and like many partition families, he had to give up education because his father died very early. He had 8 siblings. He worked as a bangle seller. He worked as an ice cream vendor. And then, he moved to having this typewriting institute. In fact, he married his wife because he believed so strongly in education. He said he wanted to raise the mental level of his family. And so he married a school teacher, really to raise the mental level of his family. That's how he put it. And I've known Raju as a friend for a while, and I can really see his father in him, sometimes more than Raju sees it, I think, because his father also was a really committed rationalist. And that's something, Raju, that I would love you to talk to us about. This gentility, and this is why I'm wearing these dark glasses, is really a mask. People who know Raju, like Abhijat, says that he's really got strong views on things, particularly on religion and on superstition, the great mainstay of India. So Raju, tell us about what you think about astrology, religion, faith and belief.
How much time do we have?
And tell us, and tell us how gentle you were with a Christian priest in your life.
Oh God, I told you that story. See, I can just go on and on about religion and...
Start with your cousin.
That won't be a complete...
This is the gentle Raju, the dragonfly effect.
See, there's so much to talk about religion and God, and it's something all of us question it every time, that who are we, why are we on this planet, what is our purpose here? where are we going, what happens to us when we die. And different religions give us different perspective too. Somebody say there's a heaven, hell, somebody will say there's a rebirth. So there's no major consensus on, and it's coming from human beings. There's no, I always feel if God wanted us to see life in a particular way, He'll appear and He'll make it easy for us to. So, you know, it can't be such a mystery that, so in fact I read a great definition that on purpose of life, because you always, because a lot of religion tell you the purpose of life is to serve the poor or, you know, worship the God. So I read a definition which said, life is an opportunity to create purpose. So create your own purpose. So everybody can create their own purpose and find those. So there's no, religion is in a fixed way telling us this is what is expected. And it's hinging on fear actually. With fear, there's tremendous goodness in religion, but the way some people are misusing it, using fear. So I have, Shoma wanted to know that, want me to tell you that story about, there's a cousin of mine who, a very favorite cousin of mine, you know, he was much older to me, but my childhood I used to really look up at him and wanted to be like him. He went through a very rough phase in his life, started drinking, smoking, gambling, and the business was not doing well. So he actually started going from one temple to another, finding a way to come out, ended up in a church and found his calling there, and he became a born-again Christian. And but he came out of all his problems, and we were happy. I said, wherever you find your peace and whatever makes you. But then he became an extreme, he went to the extreme end, he started converting people. He says, my trip in life is now to. So his father, his mother, and everybody, like 80-year-olds were getting converted to Christianity, and he'll remove all idols from his house, and mother would wonder, where's the Hanumanji gone? They are. So, and I used to really like him, and he started coming to my house regularly. He used to stay not in Bombay, he was in Ooty, and he used to come from there. And I used to love meeting him, but then every trip of his was with the intention of converting me, and he would always come with a priest to my house. And the same lectures would start. Again, he'll open the Bible. Because of him, I bought a Bible and tried reading it. I couldn't read it. Then I bought a Bible which was called the Good English Bible, and I read the Bible, and then I would have intense debates with him on the Bible. We won't go into that. One fine day, this was around, I was shooting 3 Idiots, and he called me up. He said, I'm in Bombay, I want to come and see you. So I said, you know, I'm really busy, I have a film to finish. And he said, no, I'll come for breakfast. While you're having breakfast, just quickly. I said, okay, come, but don't come with a priest. He said, no, I'm coming here, I haven't seen you for a long time. Next morning, he landed up at my house with a priest. And again, they opened the Bible and started talking about it. And I was in a rush, a lot of work to do. He took out the Bible and he started telling me, he says, son, you have to understand, when you die, you're going to go up there. God will say, you know, there's going to be a day of judgment. God will say, did you follow the 10 commandments? And if you say you didn't, there's hell for you. So I was in a real rush, and I had, by that time, I don't lose patience so early, but I had that day lost it. So I told him, Father, look, I've grown up in Nagpur. 250 kilometers from there, there's a small place called Gadchiroli. There are a lot of tribals who stay there. Now these tribals, very honestly, haven't heard about the Bible. They haven't heard about Jesus Christ. Forget the 10 Commandments, they haven't heard about it. So for generations that they are being born there, and for generations they've been dying. So what do you think would be happening up there? When they go up there, God will look at them and say, so did you follow the 10 Commandments? But now you tell me, is it a fair playing ground? Because they have no idea. So ideally what God should do is, when a child is born, with the umbilical cord, there should be an instruction manual. That you have to follow the 10 Commandments. If you don't follow, you'll go to hell. Then it's a fair playing ground. This bugger doesn't know. How can you say? He said, that's why we are here. I said, but you are here, but there are millions of people who don't know. And there's another religion which is preaching something else, somebody else telling me something else. I don't know who to follow. He got damn upset. He said, how can you talk about God like that? I said, I'm not trying, I'm just trying to reason with you. God's given me a mind to reason, I'm reasoning with you. I have all respects for, I'm not an atheist. I said, I don't know, I'm agnostic, I don't know. Anyway, he got upset, he left. But since then, my cousin has come, but without a priest. So
But, well, I'm not going to name which religion, but Raju feels that the texts of religions are like Ekta Kapoor serials, you know.
No press.
No tweeting.
Not
either.
always, not I'm.
No, one of the things we've promised most speakers here is that we'll follow Chatham House rules. So if they do share, you know, we've become an era where we can't share a joke, you know, a genuine emotion, feeling, complexities without it being tweeted out and mauled out of, you know, out of all context. So please do the honor of not tweeting this out in a way that'll get him in 2 Times Now next, you know. But just to tell you that Raju is an absolute equal opportunity offender where religion is concerned, because this is not just his views on Christianity, but when he was doing PK, the other thing that really gets Raju heated up is astrology. And our friendship has survived the fact that I really consult astrologers all the time. But Raju, tell us your experience of meeting astrologers and how many astrologers have you demolished in trying to make PK?
See, that's, you know, if you ask me, it's very difficult to convince an audience that
and now the investigation is going to start.
It doesn't work. It's very difficult to, because every person will tell me, I have met one astrologer, or my uncle or my aunt or father has met one astrologer who's okay. Because he told me this, which was a very personal secret of mine, which how did he come to know? So it's very difficult to demolish it. But if you actually do it under foolproof conditions, if you don't, see, if you go to an astrologer in times of trouble, either you're having money trouble, or you have relationship problems, or you have health problems. So most of them would operate in that area. I have met millions of them, not millions, but I have hundreds of them, even as part of my research during PK, and I remember sending, a lot of people I thought would recognize me, so I sent Abhijat once to one such famed astrologer. And I asked one girl in my office to take an appointment, who was my assistant, with the astrologer. She took an appointment, but she didn't tell him that Abhijat is coming. So she took an appointment for herself. So then I asked her to call up the astrologer again and tell him that another man is coming with you. So she called up. So I said, Abhijat, look, now this girl, she's 20 years old. She's called up and told, in the second call, told the astrologer that you are going to come. So the first question that's going to ask you is, you have a problem in your marriage. And that's exactly what happened. When Abhijat went there, that man wrote on a piece of paper and gave it to Abhijat and said, you have a problem in your marriage. So Abhijat said, no, there's no problem in my marriage. So he got very confused. Because you tend to give out information yourself, because you're going there with a problem. And if you don't go with a problem, they don't really know where to explore. So with Abhijat, he didn't know really where to explore. So he said, do you have some money problem? Abhijat said, no, I'm okay. So he said, you're looking healthy. So what is your problem? So now Abhijat will make up something. He says, you know, I'm a writer and I want to know, when will I get a hit film? So he opened his horoscope, and which he had made, and all that happened. And he said, this was in 2010, I think. So he said, the first hit film you're going to get is in 2012. So Abhijat said, okay. And he said, by the way, what have you written? So Abhijat said, in 2006, I wrote Lage Raho Munnabhai. So he said, oh, but with the money that came to you, what did you do? He said, no, I invested in a house. Ah, that's why it's not showing. That's why the success is not showing. So after that, what have you done? After that, was success in 2012. So Abhijat said, no, I've written 3 Idiots in 2009. After that, he shut his book, he called his wife. He says, my wife is interested in watching a shoot. Can you show him a shoot? Then we went to astrology school.
Today's 9/11.
We met a lady there, and we asked her, we were genuinely trying to explore. So we said, are you saying that by an astrological chart, you can predict the date of death of a person? She said, yes, you can. Your whole life is predestined. So, which also I find very funny. If your life is predestined, then how so many people offering solutions to change your destiny? You know, you say God has destined you to in the way, and then you say, do this mantra, this changes, do this changes. So, anyway, that's another debate. So then Abhijat asked the lady that what happened to those people when the World Trade Center 9/11, that plane went into that World Trade Center, so many people died. So if we were to dig out their horoscopes, take out their date of births, make those horoscopes, so do you say that all of them, their date of death would be the same day? She got confused. And she said, no, in that case, actually, we would take the horoscope of the pilot. So then we countered that by saying, okay, what happened in the tsunami which came? Chennai, so many people died. There was no pilot in that case. So many people died on the same day. So their horoscope would suggest same day of dying. She says, no, in that case, we would take the destiny of the nation, date of birth of the nation, which is 15th August, 1947. So anyway, it's a long debate. I can go on and on, but it'll take me very long to convince everyone on that.
But the thing is that Raju only pretends to be a rationalist because actually he's a closet magician, you know.
Arey, nahi.
And he can make this this dark glasses of mine rise up in the sky. So just watch him do it.
I just...
Come on, Raju.
I can't. I just did it on you. I don't know whether I can do it for everyone out here.
Achha, you're having a stage moment, Raju.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's real mentalism.
You get 3 takes to do it.
Okay, I'm going to try. I'm not sure if I'm going to succeed. I'll need your energies. Help me with your energies.
This is why it's better Raju's making films rather than being unleashed upon the Sai Babas and everybody else in our lives.
Yeah.
Okay,
When
Raju.
my film stop working, I can
But
become a Baba.
the reason I'm saying that he's a bit of a closet magician is because I've pestered him again and again to tell me how he does this. And he says, that's because I can read your mind and stuff like that, you know. So, okay, Raju, to shift track, you know, you're a scriptwriter, you're an editor, you're a director. Cinema is perhaps one of the most collaborative arts. You know, it's not just one person's inspiration. So can you tell us a little bit about the craft? What is it that you find the most difficult? Quickly in each of those aspects, you know, as a director, handling the cast, can you give us some insights about how you do it? And editing, which you say is the most neglected of arts, and, you know.
See, there are 3 primary, actually there are various aspects, but I write, I direct, and I edit. I started as an editor, so I do that hands-on. And yes, editors I completely feel are absolutely unsung heroes, where people think editing is just joining off shot. It is not just joining off.
Would you like to share that little clip about how you edit?
I don't know if you want to show it. You have?
Pal, do we have time?
But then let me tell you a story if you want to. This was many years back. I was shooting an ad film, and there was one agency person on the shoot. We were shooting in Madurai, and after the shoot, we were having dinner, and there was a huge debate which happened on the role of an editor. So I said, you know, editor can make or break your film, because you have 10,000 shots in the film, and it's the juxtaposition of which completely changes the meaning, completely changes the layer of emotions. Like, to give you a very, very basic example is, if you have 3 shots, shot of a man smiling, same man looking scared, shot of another man pointing a gun. Now, how you arrange these shots changes the meaning. If I was to put the shot of a smiling man, then cut to the shot of a man picking a gun, go to the same man and he gets scared. What I'm communicating to the audience is that this man saw the gun and got scared. Now, if I was to flip the third and the first shot, so you have a shot of a man who's looking scared, but at that moment you don't know, you won't feel he's feeling scared. You'll see what is happening to him. He sees a gun and he smiles. So suddenly he's a courageous man. Now, this is a very basic example, but when an editor has 10,000 shots, I have done it all my life. I have completely changed meanings of films, and you can really build on it. So this agency man, when we were shooting, he said editor's role is 0. It's director shoots the film and he just arranges the shots. I spent 2 hours that night explaining to him that no, an editor can do a hell of a lot. He was drinking away and he had no patience. I got really upset because editing was my profession. And we finished the ad, went back to Bombay. Sorry, before that I told one of my assistants, I said, you take this video camera and tell him that I'm doing a making of the ad. And I gave him a list of questions to ask. I said, go to every unit member and ask questions. Tell them, how's the shoot happening? Who's your favorite person on the shoot? How many times you're eating on the shoot? Is the food good? Ask inane questions like that. And that's it. So that's what he did. I came back to Bombay. All I did, I gave him a very basic example. All I did was change the questions. And everything changed. I didn't even try too hard. I just changed the questions for him and everything changed. So last year I had done a class in editing. So we had taken this story and shot something like that in our this thing. So I think Shoma wants to. Yeah. So you'll see the basic questions first. And then just by changing the question, no expression changes. The way they are speaking, everything is the same. But the meaning completely changes. It's a very bad but basic example.
So yeah, if you can just play that little capsule.
The first one.
The first one, yeah.
Everyone.
Lakshmi Priya Devi.
Nikita. Sachin.
Jean D'Souza. Whenever I'm hungry.
At least 4 times.
4.
3 to 4 times.
4.
4 times. 5.
There are 2-3 armchair spots. Which are the favorites?
Of course, my table.
I like the balcony outside. The editing room.
Washroom. Everywhere.
Just play the second clip.
You can cut this, a long one.
Cut this and just play the second clip, please.
Now, the second ones are where the
Never.
questions were changed.
Everyone.
Lakshmi Priya Devi.
Nikita. Sachin.
Jean D'Souza. Whenever I'm hungry.
At least 4 times.
4.
3 to 4 times.
4.
4 times. 5.
There are 2-3 armchair spots. Which are the favorites?
Of course, my table.
I like the balcony outside. The editing room.
Washroom. Everywhere.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. That's Raju Hirani's craft for you. Raju, before we go to some of your experiences on set, I wanted you to share one more example of how you get your message across. Last night was Raju's friend's 18th birthday, and they were having an argument over something, and here's another way of how finally Raju does communicate what he wants in the gentlest way possible. So Raju, can you tell us what you did to your son?
My son will kill me for this. He's just turned 18, and he was having his 18th birthday. We were thrown out of the house, we said, and he's a good kid. Touch wood, he's a good kid, doing well. And he came to me, he said, Dad, there's a little problem, now we are 18, a lot of my friends are drinking. So, shall I offer them drink? I said, he doesn't drink. So I said, it's not correct here. What's the legal age of drinking? So he went on the web and found out. And in Maharashtra, it's 18 for wine, 21 for beer, and 25 for hard drinks. So I found that out yesterday, the day before. So he said, Dad, for wine it's 18, so we can have wine. Now I said, look, I wouldn't really like to offer these kids, I don't know how, whether they'll be able to control themselves. But it became a huge debate with the son. He says, but we are legal age. I'm not having, what's your problem? But they feel good. I go to friends, they offer. Now they're growing kids, but how do you debate? I said, okay, wine allowed. So then I played a little prank with them actually. I told him, I involved him. I got 2 actors, got them cop uniforms. And around 12 o'clock at night, they went home and rang the bell. And so these kids were having wine, but some of his friends actually had got some hard liquor and they had. So these guys, cops entered the house and created havoc. Hey, now kya hai tumche, permit dikhao, kneel down. And for half an hour, they really played around them. Kids were in panic. They started messaging their parents. Parents started calling us. What's happening? There are cops in the house and this is... So full tamasha happened and finally, suddenly the cops put on the music and started dancing with them. But today I got call from a lot of parents. He says, for once they got more than a scare, an idea what could actually happen. It's not the right thing to, I don't know whether it's the right way to teach kids, but I love pranks.
So, Raju, there's so much of ground we haven't covered, but you're starting work on the new Sanjay Dutt film. So it would be really special for the audience if you shared some insights. What about Sanjay Dutt drew you to really make a biopic on him? And can you share some incidents? Sanjay has been through jail and his entire life is almost like a Greek tragedy. So if you could just share some, what drew you to the story and share some incidents about him?
See, this is a film I actually was not planning to do. I was writing a Munna Bhai script, and after PK I wanted to do that. It was just a chance meeting where Sanju was out on parole and I had gone to meet him. And I think he was in that zone, though I worked with him for such a long time, but I think we had our distance and I thought I knew his life, but I really didn't know any now today I think I didn't really know anything about him. But when he was on parole, he was out. I think he was in the zone where he was venting out. He wanted somebody to listen to him. He wanted to talk about his life and talk truthfully about his life. I happened to meet him at 5 o'clock. I went to his house. He just opened up, started talking about his hostel days, how he went to hostel and how he got into drugs and everything. And I ended up being there till 3 in the morning. And I wanted to know more. Next day, those are days I was editing PK. Next day, Sanju again called me at 4. He says, you want to come today? And I realized he wanted to talk. So I went there again. Another great session till 3 in the morning. Then I called up Abhijat. I said, Abhijat, I don't know, I'm just sitting and chatting and I'm completely glued to what I'm hearing. I don't know. Let's hear him out. So Abhijat joined me. So this 1 day, 2 day, it became 25 days, non-stop. I went to his house till he was out on parole. Every day we went, we used to come at 3. And I think I've heard the most amazing story of my life, very truthfully told. Even then I didn't know whether there was a story, but there were great anecdotes. As I was saying, when you're writing a script, when you're trying to imagine a script, you are fictionalizing scenes. Nothing can match the reality of a biopic. Nothing can match the scenes, the experiences of life. So what I heard was completely, absolutely unbelievable. There were times I was just laughing, there was times I was just crying. His relationship with his father, his relationship with his friends, his drug days, his time with the underworld, the gun and everything. And I couldn't believe that a single man could live as amazing a life. Then we thought, let me try if we can make a film out of it. Because it's not really actually the film of a hero, but it's still amazing. So we tried for a few days and Abhijat and me figured out that we can actually find a way of telling the story. So then I actually dropped everything and started writing this. So we've just finished the film and we'll start shooting.
Could you share that seminal moment when you met him in jail and also that time of great isolation that he shared with you and how he got through that period in jail?
There's so many things to talk about. I don't know how much to... See, the contrast in his life is so bizarre. He's a man who used to love New York. New York for him was his second home. And he describes, the way he describes is, I used to go and stay in the most expensive hotel in Manhattan, and from my suite I could see the entire Manhattan. And he's the same man who's stayed in Arthur Road jail in that under cell where there was not a single window. So he used to tell me, he says, I didn't know when day used to happen, I didn't know when night used to happen. He says, after a few days I figured out, when I used to see these ants going up, I realized it's day, and when I saw the ants coming back, I realized it's night. And he was losing his mind. He was losing it. After 15 days, he said, get me out, I'll lose my mind. They didn't get him out. In fact, they got some other prisoners there to give him company. And he says that was a saving grace for him. I happened to meet him in jail because they were doing, as part of the reform, they were doing a play when he was in jail, Yerwada. So all the prisoners had put together a play. So the jailer called me up and said that, we want a film director to come and see if they're doing it well, if you want to give some tips. So, you're supposed to finish? Okay.
I'm going to open it up to the audience,
Okay.
but if you can.
So I'll finish this quickly. So I went there to jail, and Sanju had no idea that I'm going to come there, and I was very happy. I thought I'll get a chance to meet him. I went there. There was a hall. They were supposed to be rehearsing there, and I still remember him standing there back. His back was towards me. He was in the uniform. The cap was there, and another prisoner saw me. He tapped Sanju, and he turned. Not for the rest of my life, I can forget that look. Big beard, cap, and he stared at me for 10 seconds, not believing that I could be there. He was staring at me like that. Then he walked up, he held my hand and didn't leave it for the next 20 minutes. He was just holding my hand and crying. And then they asked him to perform. And he was very shy doing that. He says, oh no, मैंने इनके साथ तो काम किया है, ये तो मेरी 2 फिल्में बनाई हैं, इनको पता है मैं कैसे काम करता हूँ. This thing. And I was as ashamed. I didn't want him to perform. But finally, so there he was performing in front of me with 2 brilliant actors next to him. Both were murder convicts there for life. And they were not trying to impress me. They were doing a fantastic job. There was a dance also. It was on alcoholism. The whole play was about alcoholism. They did a dance. It was just fantastic. I said, who's choreographed this? So they told me there was some fashion choreographer who was in prison for 6 weeks or 2 months. So they asked him to choreograph. Then suddenly his prison term got over and the choreography wasn't over. So they went to his house to pick him up. And he requested the cops. He said, please don't tell my parents. I told my parents I was in Singapore, but he was in Yerwada. So they got him back and they had put up a fantastic play. Then when I was leaving, then much later he told me, he says, when you left, I was waiting there, hoping that you'll turn and I'll be able to wave one last. There are too many memories.
Yeah, no, unfortunately we are cutting Raju short, but actually the story Raju was sharing is that he was at the jailer's cell and the jailer's room and talking to the jailer and being told about the prison reforms. And when Sanjay Dutt came out and, is now, of course, a free man, he was telling Raju that he waited down below for 40 minutes just to get a glimpse of Raju to be able to just wave to him. And Raju didn't know he was waiting there, so he had walked away. And Sanjay was sharing that extreme isolation of jail and of that desire for connection that he waited just to be able to wave to Raju. And Raju was sharing about, how that really broke his heart and made him cry. There are just many, many more insights that Raju could share with us about, about conveying messages, about dealing with. I don't know if we have time after we've opened this up to you for questions. Maybe Raju can share one more incident about the managing of people and of emotions and characters, what it really means to be a director. And he has a great story about Sunil Dutt and Raju Hirani, which hopefully, after you've had your interaction with him, there'll still be time for him to tell that story. But before that, we'd like to open this up to you. If you have any questions to him, he'd be very happy. Yes.
Raju, your films have had a tremendous influence on people. From first-hand experience, I know that Ladakh, after 3 Idiots, from annual visitors of, let's say, 35,000, shot up to 1.5 lakh, 5 times increase in tourists to Ladakh just after 3 Idiots. Yeah. And again, from first-hand knowledge, I can tell you that Rancho School still gets 8,000 visitors a month.
I know, I'm aware of that.
So how does that, this chopping society gently, but it does have a huge influence on where you can make a difference, let's say.
So in
So
fact-
does that influence your decision making in choice of script or story or film or anything? Sorry.
See, as I said earlier, we always choose to do the films we want to do. And all this is coming from delving into our own lives, our own experiences about, so we are being very honest to our craft. Never been in a rush to make films. I've taken 2.5, 3 years, sometimes even more to make one film. So, and obviously when you encounter experiences like this, these are still very small experiences where tourism increase, but you meet individuals. I'm constantly aware that I'm not going to change the world. Cinema is not really going to change the world for me, but it's definitely going to affect some individuals and at some level change them. So even a small number, if people can change, it's a great feeling. So what's a great feeling for me is people don't come and say that, you know, we loved your film. They come and thank me sometimes, so which is very heartwarming actually. They come and say, you changed my life, you did this thing, you bumped into people. So it's a great feeling.
Is there anybody else? Raju, you want to share any story where someone's actually told you how their parents let them do something that they never allowed them to do before? Or if there are other questions.
Let's finish the question.
Yeah,
There are
let's
many
finish
stories
the other
otherwise.
questions.
Sanjay Dutt and Amir Khan, and I loved both your films. The question I have for you is, if you were to make the same films with a lesser known actor, would they be as successful?
I think you should be answering that for me because would you still watch them? See, I feel an actor does help you to get an initial into the cinema hall, but eventually the film finally runs on its own steam, on the strength of the story. Because you'll have many examples of big actors and the films not working, and small or relatively lesser known actors, but good stories, they're doing well. So I feel finally it's a content which will make a film run. It's never the, to be honest, Sanjay Dutt at that time was not doing very well when Munna Bhai M.B.B.S. I had struggled to get, that was my first film, I had struggled to get every big actor, I had struggled with, Shah Rukh was supposed to do it for a time, then it didn't happen. So we went to Sanjay Dutt, Vinod Chopra had known him. And he had 17 flops before that. So I guess it's the strength of the film eventually which, an actor will definitely assure you an opening. But the Monday is the film.
Okay, just, yeah, one more question. Yeah.
Can you talked a lot about influences from your father and your family, but can you talk a little more about your intellectual influences, whether it's directors or writers or other people who have inspired you?
Yeah.
And the second part is you talked about loving pranks, and I'm curious as to whether there are people who have played pranks on you, which have been, memorable.
Yeah, I know somehow the conversation veered more onto that side. I'm quite an intelligent guy, don't worry. My influences have been, poetry has been a big influence on my life, and a lot of satirists have been, I've grown up on writers like Harishankar Parsai, Sharad Joshi. I've grown up on poets like Harivansh Rai Bachchan, Sahir, big influence. So, in terms of cinema, I was growing up in a small town like Nagpur. I had no exposure to world cinema or English cinema. We grew up on Hindi films, so I was hugely inspired by Rishikesh Mukherjee kind of films. And later, only when I went to the film school, I got exposed to Hollywood or European cinema. So, what else were you asking me about? My influences.
And whether anyone's played a prank on you?
Anyone's played a prank on me? Yeah, a lot of my friends have played pranks on me most of the time. But they'll be again long stories.
Yeah.
I'll tell you separately. They'll be long because I think we are running out of time, so I want to, again it'll become, let me sound a little more intelligent now. So, more pranks.
Yeah, but unfortunately, we have run out of time because there's a wonderful session. You know, we're going to have a cocktail break for half an hour, and you can, of course, chat with Raju, you know, during that time. But when we come back, it is really a window into another world altogether. And, you know, that's a very great part of our endeavor in Algebra to really open windows into different worlds than we inhabit. So in half an hour, we'll be back here. As Raju says, there's just so much that we did not even get to touch on. Certainly his experience as a director, managing people, managing locations, managing, you know, it's like an army operation. And in the midst of that, you have to continue trying to be an artist. So there's really a lot more to talk to Raju about the craft of his cinema. But the reason we concentrated so much on how he communicates and what he feels is to return to the original, you know, the kind of premise in which this whole conversation began, was that this is really a time when we need some gentleness and some moderation. And Raju Hirani certainly brings that to our imaginative and emotional life. So thank you very much for being here, Raju, with us. Thank you for starting Algebra.